Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is the Paddy Power, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather, or the gym.
Hello and welcome to the Racing Post Champions League Darts Postcast. I'm Henry Hardwick. I'm joined by my Racing Post colleague Steve, the Master of Darts Davis. On the phone we've got Steve, the Penetrator Palmer, and from Paddy Power we've Damien Fitzgerald. Sorry to leave you out there, Damien, but have you got a darts nickname?
I reckon dangerous. I'm dangerous throwing darts when anyone is near me, so that's what we're going with that.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'll just quickly run through the format because it's obviously quite a new tournament. It's only been going for a couple of years. This will be the third year. There's 8 players split into 2 groups. Each player will play each other once over the best of 19 legs. The top 2 from each group will go through to the semi-finals and the finals, both over 21 legs, the best of. And obviously the winner of Group A will play the run-up in Group B and vice versa. So, Damien, can you give us a quick show of prices on the outright?
Yeah, on the outright, MVG slightly odds on at 10 to 11, Gary Anderson 4 to 1, Rob Cross 6 to 1, Peter Wright 8 to 1, Mensur, the defending champion, is 11 to 1, Darryl Gurney 25 to 1, Dave Chisnell 33s, and 50 Simon Whitlock. And
we'll go straight to Steve Palmer, obviously 10 to 11 for Michael Van Gogh, and I guess you're quite tempted that, but by his high standards, he hasn't been in the best of form of late.
Well, Henry, yeah, my view on Michael Van Gogh is well documented. I think since Phil Taylor retired, the sport has been at the mercy of Van Gogh, and I think over the next few years, I expect ludicrous levels of dominance. You're right, he has had a few little wobbles in the wake of becoming a father. Happens to us all, happens to you, happened to me. He had to drop some events from his schedule, perhaps lost a bit of sharpness, but I think he's getting used to being a dad again now, and he should start winning absolutely everything soon. I mean, if you look at his rivals, I don't really see any significant rivals for the decade to come. I mean, Gary Anderson and Peter Wright, both nearing the age of 50. Rob Cross is just a good player who has been in the form of his life for a year or so, in my opinion. I don't think he'll ever win another world title. Questionable technique, not top class, in my opinion. And who are the youngsters coming through who can live with MVG? I mean, Joe Cullen is supposed to be the next best thing, but he got whacked 7-0 the other day by MVG in the German Darts Championship. I don't think Cullen will be any long-term trouble. Corey Cadby seems a bit too much of a hothead. So, I anticipate a decade of dominance for MVG and starting with this tournament.
And presumably, you'll be hoovering up the 10 to 11 offer then. I mean, in a field of just 8 runners, it does seem a fairly big price.
I think it's a massive price. Yeah. I've had 1,100 quid at 10 to 11, his record at the Brighton Centre is quite interesting. I don't know if you've gone through that. He's played there 4 times in the Premier League, and he averaged 102.78 in 2013, 110.85 in 2014, 111.90 in 2015, then 104.67 in 2017. So that's an average of 107.55 at the Brighton Centre. So I think he's going to love the venue. I only become wary of backing him when he's in front of really hostile, xenophobic almost crowds in England. I think that the World Championship rabble, ludicrously hostile towards him in the semi-final with Rob Cross at the start of the year. The Blackpool boys, they're never too kind to him either. But I think he'll be fine at the Brighton Centre, where his record is good. Brighton's I used to live in Brighton, it's a cosmopolitan community. The Dutchman is guaranteed a warm welcome, and I think under fair playing conditions, Michael Van Gogh is impossible to beat.
And as the Penetrator mentioned, Steve, this is the first time it's going to be held in Brighton. I've moved to Cardiff for the last 2 years. Are you with the opinion of Steve that Van Gogh is a good thing for this?
Well, you've got to like the price. I mean, 10 to 11. I mean, this is is he losing popularity with punters? He's 5 to 4 for the World Championship coming up. I mean, he's slightly on the drift. For the last 2 runnings of this, and it's only his 3rd running, he's been 4 to 5, 8 to 11, something like that. Didn't win either time, of course. This is the time of the year when people like Van Gogh get going. It's 3 months to the Worlds. All the big events are coming up now. He wants to get ready for them. He said that he's gone on record as saying that this is the one tournament that's not on the trophy he's not got on his mantelpiece. He'd like to put it there. But it's an easy thing to say, isn't it? I mean, last time out, we talked earlier, the last time out in the Dutch Championship, he just didn't have his head on at all. He got thrashed 6-1 by Willie O'Connor, 87 average. It just gave the impression he didn't want to be there. And Van Gogh will always have that in him. I mean, if this doesn't go well, he could easily subside. Steve makes a perfectly valid point. It's a very small field. It's not a great field. I mean, they are the top 8 in the world, but 2 or 3 are there, kind of there dubiously. But if you were, I mean, I couldn't say he's not a good bet at 10 to 11. I mean, it's a good price about a bloke who normally goes off 4 to 6, 8 to 11 for these sort of events. Yeah.
And,
He was asleep in Holland, wasn't he, Steve? I mean, he just turned up and he just expected to just go into autopilot, and William O'Connor would just fold. I mean, I think.
Well, O'Connor just had to hit the board, didn't he? I mean, that's all he had to do to beat him. It was one of those classic no-shows from a bloke who will just do that from time to time. Yeah, Van Gogh will do that. But this is a big event.
He's pumped for this, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
For this one.
Exactly.
And the previous tournament, the German Championship, he dropped only one leg in the 4 matches before the final, didn't he? I mean, that's the sort of level that he might bring to the party this time, I think.
Yeah.
And the aspect about this tournament, as I really like, is that he can lose a match and still win the tournament, can't he? And when you're chunking on at short prices like I do occasionally, to have that comfort that he can lose a group game and still win the tournament is lovely, because he's not going to lose 2 group games, and they're long distance matches, and they're like Henry says. So I think that favours the superior player,
especially the leg format. I think seems to if you're playing a leg format and you win 6 legs, you're 6-0 up. If you're playing set format and you win 6, it's 6-4. You could potentially be. So that does seem to favour Van Gogh. But if there's any
and the 2 players, and sorry to butt in, I've only got 1 player to talk about. I'm not interested in all the others. But he's only lost to 2 players in the Champions League at darts, and neither of them is playing this week. Phil Taylor beat him twice in 2016. One in the group game and then in the final. And then last year he lost to Taylor and Raymond. Taylor and Raymond in a tough group. So with Taylor and Barney out of the picture, they've been his nemesis. Is that a word? So I think there's no one that can stop him this year.
How about you, Damien? How do you see it going? Are you a Van Gogh man, or do you see any each way value against him or anything?
I'm against Van Gogh. He is the best player. He's obviously the best player. But 10 to 11, I'm not sure about his recent form. I think all this year, going back to the cross match in last year's World Championships, I think when the pressure has really come on, he's doubling. He's started missing, and he's missing a lot of doubles whenever he's under pressure. You can see that Jeffrey Deswan bet him in the first round of the World Match Play. His doubling wasn't great there. I just think when he's put under pressure against against players like Gary Anderson, Rob Cross, his doubling can fall apart. So at 10 to 11, it wouldn't really be for me. I think Rob Cross at 6s is probably the one I like. He didn't have a great form maybe after the World Championship. He actually put on a lot of weight, which he seems to have lost again. And his form the last couple of weeks seems to be coming around again. He bet MVG 11-6 in a final in Brisbane there last month, playing really well. So I think at 6-1, I think Rob Cross is really starting to come back into form. So he'd be my pick for the week.
Okay, and Steve, Steve Marshall of Darts Davies, any other each way selections possibly against Van Gogh from Group B?
From Group B, well, bearing in mind Mensah Suljovic won it last year, much to my chagrin at 40 to 1, because I backed him at 5 to 2 to qualify for the semis. I mean, doomed. Big prices can go in, and I look at someone like Simon Whitlock, who reached a final last week. I mean, the beard to be feared. I mean, it was the beard to be jeered for a while, wasn't he, while he was going through a real low point. But he looks back to his best. He was the laughingstock virtually when he was admitted to the Premier League. Everyone wondered. It was a very controversial wildcard pit. Won his first 3 games, never looked in danger. Didn't play superb. He kind of flatlined through the tournament. But he is still a good player. And it's quite possible that you've only got to win 2 matches to reach the final. I mean, it's unlikely, but 3 probably. But, he's the world number 7. He's quite capable of doing it. 50 to 1 each way. It's a possibility. It's something to consider.
Okay, we'll just take a quick break, and then we'll be cut back to spin through the groups and the first round of the matches.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Champions League Darts Postcast. We're going to have a look at Group A and B. We'll kick off with Steve Palmer. Any fancies in the Group A, which group contains Michael Van Gogh, Gary Anderson, Dave Chisnell and Daryl Gurney?
Yeah, I obviously fancy Van Gogh to win it. I mean, those defeats that Damien, the dangerous Damien, was mentioning there. I mean, I'd put that down to the crowd a lot. I know he was missing doubles under pressure, but he's getting booed and relentlessly jeered when he was missing those key doubles against Cross. I mean, they'd been on the beer all day. It was a very late kick-off time, wasn't it? And I thought the crowd was just unfair in that semi-final match. So I wouldn't put that down to MVG's bottle there. And again, in the Deswan defeat, I think the Blackpool crowd again. They can be quite nasty to Van Gerwen. They were big Taylor loyalists through the years. So I think he'd get a much easier time in Brighton, and I don't think he'll feel the same pressure on the doubles. He certainly won't be getting booed when he's going for them. So I always expect Van Gerwen to win Group A, and I think Daryl Gurney may be a spot of value to qualify in second spot. I wouldn't be that surprised to see Gurney upset Anderson in the opening match. You never know with Anderson. He can sometimes turn up and not bring anything to the table. Gurney's good enough to beat him in that opener. So that would be my advice. Perhaps have a Gurney to qualify bet.
And Marshall Dart, Steve Davis, is there any catching your eye in Group A?
Just quickly going back to what the penetrator said about Van Gerwen, what he did fail to mention is that as old hands think there are 4 majors in the PDC, the Worlds, the Match Play, the UK Open and the Grand Prix. Van Gerwen doesn't hold any of those at the moment, so he's clearly not miles clear of the field, okay? I'd be doing the Anderson-Van Gerwen forecast at about 4-1, I think, with Paddy Power. Chisnell and Gurney, you can't write them off, but they are big prices. You can't write them off because you file them both under I haven't got a clue. You really do. I mean, they're both 180 machines, but they're as likely to hit 41 on the next visit. From 501 down to 201, those two are class. From 201 to 0, they're anything. Who knows? And they're both had in different years. Chisnell's not in great form, nor's Gurney. So I think, to me, it looks like Anderson and Van Gerwen from that group. And if I was going to do it for a bit of value, I'd do the Anderson first. And
Damien, can you just give us a quick show of prices on Group A and just the match betting for the opening round of matches and anything you catches your eye?
The Group A winner, 4-11 Van Gerwen, 11-4 Anderson, 14's Gurney and Chisnell. The first round of matches, Anderson against Gurney. Anderson is 3-10 and Gurney is 5-2. And MVG is 1-9 against Chisnell as 11-2.
I mean, if anyone likes head-to-heads, it's just worth noting that Dave Chisnell hasn't won any of the last 20 meetings against Michael Van Gerwen, so perhaps... I
was surprised he qualified, actually. When I saw his name in it, I thought, how did he get in it? His career's sort of been on the slide a bit, hasn't it? But he must have done something somewhere to qualify.
He hit a Euro Tour record average the other day against Mark Webster, I think it was, 118 or something, I think. But I mean, in general, he has been...
But that's the point you make about that's Chisnell in a nutshell. Remember at the match play when he beat Michael Smith, he came back from nowhere, it was through like a king. And then, but you just know you cannot rely on Chisnell. This is probably a tournament where if you're actually thinking he could quite do well, he's only got to play 3 or 4 decent games over 2 days. Maybe he is a fancy price. One of those, as I mentioned earlier with Whitlock, you've only got to string 2 or 3 really good performances together. And we know Chisnell can do it. It's whether he can do it over a longer period, which is, very suspect.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. We're going to have a quick break again, and then we'll come back and we'll look at Group B.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello, welcome back to the Racing Post Champions League Darts Postcast. And we're going to have a look at Group B. Damien, can you give us a quick show of prices and again for the opening round of matches as well, please?
Yeah, we're 6-4 on Rob Cross, 2's Peter Wright, 11-4 Menser, and 8-1 Simon Whitlock. First round of matches, Rob Cross is 4-7 against Menser, 11-8, and Peter Wright went to 3 against Simon Whitlock, 9-4.
I mean, this looks a slightly weaker group, Damien. How do you see it sort of panning out?
Yeah, it's probably a harder to predict group anyway. With you'd expect Gary and MVG to come through in the first group. This group, I think out of the top 3, I think Peter Wright might be the one to lose out. He's not very consistent at the moment, and he's very up and down. And I think Rob Cross and Menser are just showing a little bit more consistency. So I think they'd be my 2 to come through. You can get a dual forecast price on Rob Cross and Menser at 5-2, and I think that's a decent bet.
And how do you see it going, Steve? Marshall Darts Davies?
Well, Suljovic, interestingly, has got a winning head-to-head record against Whitlock and also Wright, and he's won 3 times against Cross this year. He's just the irritant, isn't he? People don't like playing him. Gary Anderson famously says he hates playing him. He's the only bloke who can dictate his own tempo on stage. He can play slow, he can play quick. He's a devil to play against, but he's also now hugely confident, having won this. He's world number 6. Having won this last year, he believes and he knows he deserves to be in the top echelons of the game. I think he's a class act. I think he's probably not a bad bet. Him and or Whitlock to get through. I could easily oppose both favourites there. I don't think Cross is in any particular form. He looks like he should never won the World Championship. Obviously, he's delighted he did, but he's done nothing since. He's had a really, really quiet year. And Peter Wright, he's very consistent, but still fiddling with his darts, of course, and will turn in good performances. But I think in a group, this looks quite open to me. I could see either or both of the outsiders going through.
And Steve Palmer, obviously you gave your opinion on Rob Cross earlier. You know, he's only won 2 tournaments since his World Championship triumph. You know, where are you looking for the value here against him?
Yeah. I think, as Steve says, it's a very, very open group. This, I wouldn't know who to pin my colours to. I do think Rob Cross is overrated. I think he's overrated in all the markets. I think 9 times out of 10, if he faces MVG will deal with him. I mean, in the Brisbane Masters final, it was a very close match, and then Cross suddenly turned into Superman and destroyed him in that final. But I don't expect that to become the norm. And in this particular group, I think I'd give Peter Wright the edge. If I was forced to have a bet on the group, I'd back Peter Wright. I think he's just the better, most gritty opponent out of those 4. And then Suljovic might sneak second place. But yeah, it's, as Steve says, you wouldn't be surprised if anything happened in that. Anything can happen and probably will. Is that the line?
Yeah, I think that's about right, mate. Yeah, it does look quite an unpredictable section. Back to Damien. Damien, is there any specials, other markets? Paddy Power, obviously, you guys are sponsoring this year. Anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, just with a couple of offers, obviously, with our sponsorship, we're going to give people a bit of a chance. So one offer is on the outright. You get money back if MVG wins, so money back if you backed anyone else on if everyone else wins. And you're also getting a risk-free bet on what odds Paddy's each day on each separate day. So if your bet loses, we'll give you your money back. So we're going to give you a helping hand, seeing as we're sponsoring this event.
Yeah, I've got half a squeak of nicking a few quid then.
What's
Steve,
that? What money back if you back Michael van Gerwen and he doesn't? And he oh, sorry. No, can you just say it again?
Money back.
We got time to fill it.
Money back all losers in the outright if Michael van Gerwen wins.
I got you. Yeah, that's very generous. Very generous.
Yeah, seems fair enough. You fancy someone against him. Anyway, while you're there, Penetrator, anything special markets catch your eye? Any most 180s? You know, anything like that? Finish, you know, winning group. Anything not to qualify? Anything like that?
I just think Michael van Gerwen to win the tournament is the only bet you need to have, and I've also got an interesting anecdote about bumping into Keith Deller in Florida last week.
Oh yeah, go on. Since you mentioned it, go on, mate, whack away.
No, it's just he was at Universal Studios. I was on holiday in Florida last week, and I was just settling down for a Shrek 4D production in this sort of cinema thing. And then the old Milky Bar kid just shuffles down right in front of me, like directly the seat in front of me, and I just couldn't concentrate. I was starstruck. I couldn't concentrate on the Shrek show anymore. And Deller was having a well of a time.
Did you have a chat with him or?
Well, on the way out, it was quite. He got sort of 10, 15 yards ahead of me, and I just couldn't handle that. The humidity over there is so intense. I thought if I dash over, then what am I going to say anyway? Yeah, hello, 1983 world champion. Can I have a photo? It would have freaked him right out, wouldn't it? So, no, I just had a Coke, had a Diet Coke instead.
I just arrived in some parallel universe or something.
It's great, isn't it? You go to sort of fancy theme park in the middle of Florida, and you don't expect to be bumping into Keith Deller, but he was there.
You don't, Steve.
I look forward to
what a great man.
Bumping into John Parrott at Falk Park or something. All right, Marshall Darts, anything that catches your eye in the sort of specials markets?
Chizzy, 2-1, most 180s in Group A. We know he can score, he can't hit doubles, and he will score big. So, that would be my one bet.
Yeah, now we're going to move on to our best bets of the tournament. So that could be anything from matches, outrights, whatever. I think we know where the Penetrator is going to go with this. So we'll kick off with you, Steve. What's your best bet of the tournament?
This will not be so 180. This will not be beaten. 180. This will not be beaten. 180. I can't do it anymore. I thought it'd be a bit easier than that, but who's your favourite 180 announcer? Ross Bray's sort of losing his voice a little bit, isn't he? But
George Noble's my favourite.
George Noble, very traditional, yeah. But to answer your question, the shock answer I will provide you with is Michael van Gerwen win the tournament. You know, I just don't think you should waste any money on anything else. You know, 10 to 11, there's your winner. It's there for you. Go take the opportunity.
And Master of Darts, you going to do a song as well?
No, I'm certainly not. No, I set the bar far too high. Suljovic to win the Group B.
And finally, Dangerous Damien. Fancy a song?
No, not right now. Yeah, I'm going to go with Group B, Cross and Suljovic to be the two qualifiers at 5-2.
And that's it. Thanks to the Marshall Darts Steve Davis, the Penetrator Steve Palmer and Dangerous Damien Fitzgerald from Paddy Power. Remember, if you enjoy these shows, make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening to us. And don't forget, we've got tons of other podcasts this week to listen to. You can join Steve Palmer on today's golf, Paddy Power on Monday's racing podcast, James Milton on tomorrow's football podcast, which promises to be a cracker, and there's even yesterday's Strictly Come Dancing podcast with closet ballroom dancing fan Bruce Minnington.
Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather or the gym.